Hello.
Hello?
Hi,
Hi.
everybody.
Hi.
Can anybody hear me?
Yep, we can.
Okay.
I'm trying to keep track of the screen to see who's on.
Well, the thing is, my iPad's not working. I did something to the phone, and so I have no idea what's happening. So,
We see two of you.
oh, how lucky can you be? My
Ah,
God.
you're twins. You're twins now.
Jeez.
How are you, Senator?
I'm doing okay. How are you doing,
Good.
Madam Manager?
Good,
Good.
good. Hanging in there?
I had to fix the lighting. One of the things that you learn with this Zoom stuff is it's all about the lighting, right?
Oh, yeah. Do you
Yeah.
have one of those circles?
No, I don't.
I don't
I-
either.
With the lights that I have, but it works out okay.
I always think of it when I'm on a Zoom with bad lighting.
Yeah.
Oh, whoops.
These days. Okay, I'm just giving people another minute or two to get on. This is really an informational meeting because we haven't met for a bit. And so there aren't any votes or anything. So if for some reason we don't happen to come up with a quorum, we could still go forward with just providing information.
That's good. I mean, with the way the weather's been, how are they doing outside of not being able to get material? Are they able to maintain their
The schedule?
schedule?
Yeah, I think
Yes.
Rex is gonna talk about that, but as far as the gymnasium, yeah, seems to be, we had to adjust the schedule, but that was more on delivery, but not by a ton.
Yeah, schedule-wise, we're in excellent shape, and I'll be able to go through that in the presentation we have prepared.
Okay.
Okay, so it's 5:00. Senator?
Could you also include in the presentation whether or not the cost of building materials has gone up, and whether that's going to impact the project going forward? Not just the time of getting the materials, but also the actual cost of those materials?
Very much so. We could hit on that.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. All right, so why don't we just open the meeting? As I said, this is going to be an informational meeting. Good evening, everybody, and welcome. Thanks for joining us on Zoom. Before we get started, I think I have the list. Carol, were you going to do roll call? But I could if we need to.
Sure, I can do it.
Okay,
Oh, Manager Donahue,
here.
Mayor Leahy, Senator Kennedy,
Yeah.
Counselor Elliott, Counselor Samaras here, Representative Mom, School Committee Member Connie Martin, Mary Ann Manzi,
Here.
Michael Fiato,
Here.
Christine Clancy, here, James Cook, not here, Superintendent Boyd,
Here.
Jay Mason, Erica Harvey, Ben Opara,
Yep.
Dave Peasley, Maria Sheehy, Connor Baldwin,
Here.
Billy Joe Turner, Richard Underwood, Mike Vaughn.
Here.
Oh, great.
Kara, did you get me?
Yep. So
Present.
good evening, everybody. As I said, we wanted to have an update and an informational meeting of the school building committee. This is the meeting, public meeting via Zoom, without reciting the full authorization under the Zoom allowed participation, but per order of the governor and adopted. That's why we can meet by Zoom, this body. So The first item on our agenda, and hopefully everybody got a copy of the agenda, is acceptance of the minutes from February 4th meeting. Does anybody have any additions, changes, corrections to those minutes?
Move to accept the minutes, Madam Manager.
Second.
Motion to accept by Senator Kennedy, seconded
Second.
by Councilor Samaras. All in favor? All
Aye.
opposed? Excellent. The next item, so Rex Radloff, who is our senior project manager from Suffolk, is going to present the items on the agenda. I'll turn this over to Rex. The first item, the construction progress update. So Rex, where are you? He was here a minute ago. See, this is what happens. People can disappear on Zoom. You don't know where they went. He might have been trying to switch screens or something.
It can be a,
It's got to be here somewhere. If maybe someone can,
I'll text him and just see
yeah,
what's
text them and find out. It's looking more like a building.
He's back on. He's connecting now.
Okay.
So I just learned a lesson. Do not leave the meeting when trying to share the screen.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Okay. We're still here.
Perfect, perfect. Okay, round two. Give me one moment. I just want to be careful this time around. Okay, and can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, perfect, thank you. So we were able to prepare a presentation for today. What I'd like to go through is, and actually I have the agenda up here. After accepting of the meeting minutes that everyone just went through right now, I'm gonna hit on a construction progress update. It should essentially giving an update from where we have come from. We've been on site for over a year now and give a progress on that, as well as provide some photos with some content. So we could kind of give ourselves a virtual tour, if you will, since we haven't had many walks of the space. I think that would be exciting. Afterwards, I'll give a procurement update with the remitting trades to be bought out, and then wrapping up with MBE, WBE, and workforce compliance, which we track on a regular basis. Of course, as I go through, please feel free to interrupt, ask any questions, and of course, at the end, I'll be open for any questions as we go through. So the very first item we have, construction progress update. I start off with the locust plan provided by Perkins Eastman, showing the overall project itself along with phase one highlighted. So of course, we're in phase 1 of 4 of the project. And as you can see, we're building out the new gym. Our construction finish is shown here. And this is the area that everyone is so familiar with as they drive by on a regular basis. And since we've been here for the past year, we've been able to start with the demo of 75 Arcan back in October of 2020, lasting to December of 2020, or for the beginning of that year, which rolled right into foundations. I don't know if everyone remembers, we had those rammed aggregate piers where we were able to improve the soil, and then on top of that, install shallow foundations, reinforced concrete that is. That brought us to the springtime. Shortly after that, from the spring into the summer, we began our steel erection with Savez Steel and Zakelli Erectors, and we were able to then get a roof on the building. These are pretty big milestones for us, milestones that we track on all jobs. That is clearing the site, getting foundations in the ground, building the structure itself, and then getting the building dry. From there, we're able to really start to build out the building itself and more or less get the guts within the space. And that's what we're doing now. More specifically, we're working on the facade. So since we have a roof on the building, we also need to get the building framed in, wrapped with AVB, air and vapor barrier, which I'll show some pictures of. That's the silver stuff, if you will. Insulated, and then also continue with or begin our masonry facade itself. And I'll show many photos of that as well. So that's ongoing right now, and we started that in the summertime or late summer, August. We're also we're able to start our overhead MEPs. That's short for mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. For those who don't know, that's our major infrastructure within the buildings itself, and that will be ongoing up until next year. And then also all things masonry. So it's not just the facade that has a ground face CMU and brick masonry facade, but we also have masonry within the building. It being a gym, very typical to have CMU partitions throughout the space. And I'll show many photos of that. Again, working through our virtual tour, if you will. And then with that said, once those activities are complete, we will roll into finishes. That's our next big milestone. And that will take us from the winter of 2020 into the summer of 2020, or winter of 2022 into the summer of 2022. So in short, right now we're looking to start our finishes right after the new year. That will be also accompanied with gym equipment. Of course, we're building a gym, so we have a lot of equipment to get up into the space itself. And then one of the last things, another major milestone for us, is wood flooring. That's where the courts will be, if you will. And then finishing with building startup and occupancy for the summer of 2022. So right now, again, we're in the middle of facades, MEPs, masonry, with the goal to turn over the space to start finishes and get the rest of the equipment into the space. So with that said, I'm going to run through some photos of what the space looks like now. So right now we're on the second floor of the gym, looking eastward. And as you can see, we have bar joists up above. This was installed by Zakelli this past summer, and then a nice large joists that we were able to prefab and get into place in 3 sections this past spring. That was actually a pretty major effort, and working alongside Perkins Eastman and FBRA to have that piece designed and set into place. So as you can see, this space, we're roughing out the space. That's also short for installing the beginning elements of our electrical, plumbing, fire protection, specifically in this area. This space will have a scoreboard in the middle of it, gym lights as well, and then also wood flooring within this recess itself. We also have the openings tarped. As everyone can notice, we have these large openings, which we're tarping in now. That actually allows us to maintain the heat so we could work within a environmentally friendly space. Not so much for the workers, which we always want to keep warm, but more for the materials. Materials are very sensitive to cold weather. We can't paint or drywall, or more or less mud, if you will, drywall, unless we maintain proper temperatures. And we always like to think of it as a very nice, warm 50 degrees in here. So not too hot, but most definitely not too cold. And then also just interior framing. We're starting on some framing in the background, as you can see here, and I'll show some more framing as we go through the photos on where we're at. And then lastly, CMU partitions. This may be a bad shot. I have some really good shots, but back here will be some locker rooms, which we have CMU that will be going in. Here's another shot of what will become the wrestling room. A good shot of just all things, again, rough MEPs. In this instance, we have some rough mechanical or ductwork overhead. This is just what the building looks like right now. Getting all of this in before we get ceilings installed. So that's our overhead ductwork. Also interior framing. And then CMU partitions in the back, you can see here, we're starting to build these out. All with the effort moving towards finishes. And I'm going to take a step back. Finishes to us is when we start to board up walls with drywall, sand walls, paint walls, put down floor tile, carpet, ceiling tile, the final product, if you will, that the end user touches and sees. Here's another photo of some rough plumbing, if you will. These are toilet carriers. So these units will carry toilets and sinks, and it's just a toilet room. And we're also coring for certain locations to get into the space. Again, trying to paint the picture of what it really looks like in here, creating access for conduits to be able to run through the space, or in this case, piping. Here's another shot of down the main corridor, looking westward. This is where the where my mouse is where the entrance of the space is. Again, some more overhead rough MEPs. In this case, we have overhead sanitary, overhead domestic water, and overhead hydronic piping. That's our hot water piping coming from the boilers that help us heat the space. And then also CMU partitions as well. You can see, you know, a fair amount of coordination has to take place between our overhead MEPs and our CMU walls. And all of this gets covered with sealing at the end of the day. Overhead electrical, I touched on. As you can see, we have what we call some whips. This is the electrician just pulling in a rough manner, the electricity to the space. And then when we get a ceiling, we'll make our final connections as need be. And then all things hangers. As you can see, everything that's hanging down here, this is what's hanging the system, and that's what the space looks like. You look up and there's hangers everywhere. Those hangers have to get coordinated as well. I'll take a step back. I try not to speak too fast with some of the construction lingo. Coordination to us is when we take these systems, the mechanical systems, the electrical systems, the CMU walls, the penetrations through the walls themselves, the hangers, and we overlay everything to make sure that we can install these in a manner that does not intersect or what we call clash with one another. We do that using VDC or BIM modeling, where we build the building out in 3D beforehand. And of course, that's all in effort with Perkins Eastman as well. And then lastly, of course, I can't go through a slide without CMU partitions. As you can see here, our main corridor here, CMU partitions, and then a few other spaces here, weight rooms, and some further down the line offices will have CMU on this line. This is actually the last place where we're installing a CMU for the first floor. Moving on to a storage area or PE storage on the first floor. We were able to install one of the major air handling units. We actually have a handful of these in the space to service the gym and other areas. This is AHU 12 or Air Handling Unit 12. This unit will provide supply air for the occupants, and then take in return air for the exhaust, and then condition it and get it back out and throughout the space. This was actually one of the major milestones to this job. It doesn't seem like much, but it was a very interesting logistical challenge to get this unit into the space. As you can see, it's very large, it's very heavy, and it's not easy to get something like this into a space that's relatively tight. But we're able to do so through a very lengthy submittal and coordination process with Harold Mechanical, who was able to provide this unit to make sure we could get it into the space. And that's one of the things that we're always looking out for on building out the areas. Also, something to point out, you know, it's easy to glance by it, but this is one of our major rain leaders, or the main rain leader of the gym. This takes all of the rain or watershed from the roof and drains it out into and out of the building. This is one of the first pieces that we always like to get into a space because, of course, water is so detrimental to a job. Once we get a roof on, we need to shed the water as quickly as possible so it doesn't go into the building. So this was a major milestone for us to get this in as quickly as possible. Of course, all that needs to be coordinated. Moving on to the next space. This is our for the without getting too into what we're looking at, I'm calling this just overall mechanical spaces. It's mechanical, boiler, electrical spaces. We have a space on the first floor. We also have a space on the upper floors as well. But one of the main reasons why we're performing phase one through the gym itself is because it acts as the head end or the origin for all things hot water, gas, electrical for throughout the rest of the West Campus. So it's very important that we get this space in right now. And as you can see, this is the front end of all things masonry. This is what the masonry setup looks like. It's very tight, takes up a lot of space. And there's a fair amount of logistics that go into making sure we're able to build out the space in a manner where we don't get trapped. If you can imagine, if we build these CMU walls, but we don't think about where we're going to go, we could trap ourselves and not be able to find access into a space. For example, that AHU, which I was just showing a moment ago, that was installed in sync with the masons. And you'd be surprised, but it's a daily effort in coordination, or daily coordination effort between Suffolk and Costa Brothers, who's the mason on this job. Now I'm going to go to the outside, and what I'm sure everyone's very familiar with. So we have a hydro lift and then a traditional scaffolding system to access and install the CMU. This is a ground face CMU, and then a brick facade on the outside of the building. And we work our way up in that manner. So this is the south side of it, and we're building out again the CMU and brick facade, then staging and a mast climber, which I just called a hydro, but a mast climber is another term for this scaffolding. Here's another view of the space. I wanted to capture this because it's never so appealing, but it's very important to know what we're installing. As everyone can see, the silver here was what the building looked like, a month or so ago. This prevents water from accessing the space. For the most part, there's many other systems to do so, but this is our air and vapor barrier. And then afterwards, we are able to install a mineral wool insulation on the outside, which gives, obviously insulates the building itself. And then after that will be our mason facade. Something else I'd like to point out, cold weather tarping. Again, as you could say, every opening is always closed all the way through to maintain that heat. Very critical to us. Any small opening, we lose a lot of heat. So we're always on top of that. I talked about the air vapor barrier and the mineral wool. And then also the last thing that we have that we always work towards is always providing access, means of egress. So if you can imagine, when we are building the building, we don't always have stairs. Actually, it's not until the building is turned over until all means of egress is established. And so we're always looking out to making sure that before we install stairs that we have temporary means of egress. And this is just one example to get here. And this is because our stair on the other side of the building is not yet erected. Once that will be, and once we have a roof hatch in, a stair tower like this will start to come down. And again, this is just a final shot of the building, the state of the building, showing all elements we were just talking about, between the scaffolding, the tarping, the AVB, which you may be able to see a little sliver here. I'm trying to cheat that in there. The insulation. And to go back to my first slide, the goal right now here is to complete the facade and to complete the overhead MEPs, so we could finally get going, or I shouldn't use the term finally, but so we could begin with finishes, which brings us to the last stage of this phase. And with that said, I'm going to move into procurement update as far as the remaining bidders go. So as you can imagine, we have the bulk majority of subcontractors signed up for the job. However, we still have a handful of other trades to buy out for future phases, specifically phase 2, 3, and 4. So I'll go through that right now for everyone's understanding. Right now, we're putting out to bid phase 2 through 4 structural steel, phase 2 through 4 curtain wall, phase 2 through 4 metal panels, stage rigging and curtains. That will be within the auditorium itself. Auditorium seating also within the auditorium. So this will actually be for phase 3, if you will. Fireproofing, that will commence during phase 2 and so on. Acoustical panels, and then final cleaning. And that's the remaining trades to buy out. For the trades that we do have on site, a WBE, MBE, and Workforce Plan, I could provide here. So a total MBE and WBE contracts awarded to date, we have awarded $13 million worth. Total construction minority workforce. That is the workers on site, not to be confused with the MB or the enterprise being a minority owned or women owned business. I tend to always confuse that for some reason. But so I figure I'd provide a clarification here. But for a minority workforce, we're at 25.4% of workers. That is, amounts to 107 workers for 11,000 hours to date. Total female workforce is at 4.1% of workers, and that's 17 workers at 1,800 hours. And then the last one is total construction Lowell residents, and we're at 10.3 of all workers are resident of Lowell, and that's 33 workers at 4,500 hours. And with that said, that's my presentation of the overall status of the project itself.
Thank you, Rex. So questions, Senator?
Yes.
Yes, if I could, Rex, I think at the beginning you said that the gym should be finished next summer. Is that correct?
That's correct. We're
right,
trending yep.
So does that mean that the high school will be able to use the gym during the next school year, or is it practical to do that while there's other construction going on? How is that gonna, go ahead.
Fall of 2022, the students may use the gym. So that would be the beginning of their school year.
Right,
Yep.
okay, but, all right, so everything should be square to go and they're gonna be able to use.
Absolutely, yes.
And also with the 25% for minorities and 10% for Lowell residents, what were the thresholds? It's been a while, and so I don't recall, but was the threshold 25% in the first place? Is that?
So for the minority workforce goal, it's 15.3%. And then for the Lowell residence goal, we actually don't have one other than we will look out to see what we can do to promote Lowell residents working on the job.
Okay, all right, but on the minorities, then we're doing a lot better than what you had to, right? If you're at 20% over, 10% over. Okay.
Correct. For the minority workforce, yes.
Yeah. Okay. That's all the questions I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Manager,
Yes, Councilor Samaras.
thank you. And that was good information that Senator Kennedy was looking for, and thank you for what you've done so far. When you're talking about procurement, okay, the biggest thing, I mean, we've got a lot of projects going on in the city, and some of them now are going to be held back for periods of time because, especially steel, we can't get a hold of. All right. I mean, are you, in a sense, trying to procure ahead of a project? I mean, are you, in other words, you have a timeline when you usually take certain steps. Are you, in a sense, going, using that time and being more aggressive in procurement so we can ensure that the construction continues?
That is precisely what we're doing. There's no doubt steel lead times have increased. And so it was one of our responsibilities jointly, that is working along with Skanska and Perkins Eastman, to monitor that and make sure that we are procuring the next packages with ample amount of time. From talking with the bidders, by buying out the steel package now, which we're moving forward with, we're able to procure material that is steel for phase 2 in a manner that is within the schedule itself. So that's a lengthy way to say, yes, we're in good shape with procurement and materials.
Okay, thank you for that. How about price?
So as far as materials, yeah. So one way to hedge our bets against pricing, everything is competitively bid. We don't deal directly with materials. We're aware that materials, we have seen escalation within materials, but as long as we're able to competitively bid these packages, we know that we're maintaining the best value for the project itself. So that's where we're really able to gain our advantage. But at the end of the day, it is competitively bid, and we know we're getting the best value for that.
Okay,
Mhm.
thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you, Counselor. Any other questions? I just have one question, Rex. You kept saying CMU, which I thought was CMU. What is
You-
that? What is that?
You caught me. I really try hard not to rattle off all the terms. That's a concrete masonry unit.
Okay, well, I got the drift that it must be
Yeah,
concrete masonry because you kept showing the picture, but I'm like,
Yeah.
what's a CMU?
CMU. Yeah, I said that fast. And just a tip on the difference. Everyone can notice a brick, but the CMU is always kind of one of those bigger blocks that you'll see. That you see throughout the space.
Okay. Okay, so, to Counselor Samaras, Senator Kennedy's question. So we do expect the students to have full use of the gymnasium to start the school year. It'll be turned over sometime in the summer, and they will be using the gymnasium next school year. So that's
They-
exciting.
They absolutely will be. Yes.
And the demolition schedule for the current field house, when is that expected to start?
Right after the students are dismissed for the summer break, we're looking to get into the space and begin those efforts. The building won't come down right then and there, but we're going to spend the first month decommissioning the space, and then the takedown of the gym itself will be happening shortly after.
And will that be down by the time the students come back to school, or what do you expect on
That will be ongoing, but in a manner where we're completely separated from the students.
Okay.
We have no concern of taking down the building next to what will be the new occupied gym.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Any other questions? No, hearing none. Well, thank you, everybody. We just wanted to make sure everybody was, how the building go from kind of a drab color to a silver to a purple to, I don't know. But I don't know what's going on behind the wall, so this was helpful to see the virtual tour.
Yes.
Well, thank you, everybody. We'll follow up after. Oh, Senator, you're muted. Senator, you're mute.
Yeah, how's that?
That's
Um,
good.
I just wanted to ask, I mean, looking at the photos is good, but you don't really get the, at least to me, you don't really get an idea of the scope or the size of the building when you do that. And so I was wondering if at some point, it might be appropriate for this building committee to do a tour of the gym, just the gym area. Is that something that would, does that make sense to do that? And is there a time when you think that that might be, I guess what I'm thinking is maybe close to where it's almost complete would be a good time to look at it, but Rex.
Yeah, we can certainly accommodate any walk by the city at any time that will work for the group here.
Okay.
And we'd be eager to do that. Most definitely. We perform those quite a bit.
Okay.
So we can maybe poll the committee and see who's interested in a walkthrough.
Yeah, I certainly would, Madam Manager, but I guess what I also think is maybe, late spring might be the most
Yeah.
appropriate time, right? Or, yeah.
Yeah, I think maybe once you have an opportunity to do some of the finishes that you've talked about, that might be a good time. Maybe you can keep us posted. Recommended.
I will certainly do that. And I think the springtime when we're starting to really get into the middle of our finishes would be best. First, it's always the best for everyone to see what the end product is looking like. And then it's less of an aggressive space, if you will. It's not so much heavy equipment is going throughout the space. So it's a little more friendly for a walk.
Okay, that's good. It sounds like a good idea. That's a good plan.
So leave that with me. I'll work with everyone here and set up a date.
Okay, very good. Any other questions? No? Well, thank you. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining the Zoom tonight, and I hope everybody has a happy and healthy holiday.
And move to adjourn, Madam Manager.
Motion to adjourn by Senator Kennedy, seconded by Mr.
Second.
Samaras. All in favor? Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Aye.
Thanks.
Have a
Yep.
good
Happy
night.
holidays.
Happy holidays.
Everyone.